What's up everybody, Maran here for another weekly update. There's lots of exciting news to go over here this week, but before I get into the news this week, I first want to mention I'll be doing my usual weekly live stream on Sunday night at 9 p.m. So join if you can, it's always a great time talking cars. Also I want to mention I did already talk about the Cadillac Optic and the Jeep Wagoneer S that both debuted this week. I did dedicated tour videos of those. They are in this playlist of the weekly update, so if you haven't seen those yet, you can watch those after this is done and get all caught up on those two big news stories this week. But moving on to the other news stories here this week. So Subaru has debuted the 2025 WRX TS, which will replace the TR, which apparently wasn't very popular because it's getting replaced after just 1 year and tweaked here for this package. So the TS essentially takes the TR hardware, adds in the GT's adaptive dampers, and then throws in a few other touches, but sadly doesn't get any extra power still or the adjustable diffs we're all wanting from an STI version. So according to Subaru, it earns the STI badges it has, unfortunately, thanks to those adaptive dampers now being tuned by STI. And I mean, a lot of people did want the adaptive dampers from the GT version in a manual, and so this removes that restriction, which is very nice that they did listen and, you know, bring that out. So I think that is great. Otherwise, though, the TR hardware that does carry over is the 6-piston front and 2-piston rear Brembo brakes, an upgraded master cylinder, and the 19-inch wheels and Bridgestone summer tires. One restriction, though, that is still here from the TR is that there is no moonroof available for some reason, so you'll have to go without that if you want this ultimate version of the WRX for now. Beyond those Recaro seats, which also transfer over from the GT and the TR, you also get the pink stitching there and the blue accents on those seats, which are both new. And one really nice upgrade is that you get digital gauges finally from all the Japanese Subarus that have already had it for several years now. You finally get that here. This is making its appearance for the first time on the WRX TS. And unfortunately, it still has an STI badge there in the gauge cluster to remind you of Subaru's stubbornness to not actually sell you a real STI. But anyway, there's no pricing for this TS version yet, but I'd expect it to slot, you know, probably at least at the same price as GT, you know, or maybe slightly more if you swap out, you know, the extra pricing of the CVT and, you know, swap in some of these other bits and bobs. You know, maybe they'll come out to be even, or maybe they'll charge a premium over the GT. We'll have to wait and see. You know, I mean, I guess some people are saying, you know, we're slowly getting baby steps towards an STI, but I don't know why they still won't just sell us an STI. You know, their initial thing was they wanted to do an all-electric one in 2028. That could still happen, but clearly, you know, we're not doing this acceleration as fast as we thought we were going to do it, you know, with going to the electric stuff back whenever Subaru made that STI announcement a couple of years ago. And so I feel like this could be a prime opportunity with everyone backtracking and slowing down, being like, hey, maybe we'll hold off on the electric STI, or 2028 is still 4 years away. Why don't we sell something that's got a little more power in the meantime? But who knows why Subaru does what they do, but anyway, interesting to see that. Porsche had a big debut this week. They revealed the 2025 911, which is the 992.2 version. They revealed it in just the base and the GTS trim so far, interestingly. We don't have any info on the S or the other trims that will be coming later. But the biggest change here is the new engine that debuts on the GTS. So the flat 6 grows from a 3-liter to a 3.6-liter and loses one turbo to now be a single turbo setup, but it's now an electric turbo, which minimizes lag and can recuperate energy for the battery as well. On its own, the new engine makes 478 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque, which is already 5 more horsepower than the old GTS motor, but then combined with the 32.6 horsepower electric motor wedged in between the engine and the 8-speed dual-clutch transmission, the new GTS now makes a total of 532 horsepower and 449 pound-feet of torque, and the setup is called the T-Hybrid. It enables the GTS to be the first non-turbo trim 911 to get under 3 seconds for the 0 to 60, with this one doing a 0 to 60 time in 2.9 seconds. The electric bits are powered by a little 1.9 kilowatt hour battery that gets recharged by the engine primarily and sits where the old 12-volt battery once was, with that battery now moving to the back. Thankfully, making the GTS a hybrid only adds 103 pounds to the car, and part of that is because of things like rear wheel steering are now standard to help So the actual electric components will be under 103 pounds there. So obviously not the best, but not horrible either, especially with how cars are ballooning in weight these days. Also exclusive to the GTS for now are those little active aero flaps in the front, which help with cooling and aerodynamics. The wheels are new and they go up 10 millimeter in the back there to 315 wide tires now on the GTS. It'll be available still with either rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive for the coupe and convertible versions, but if you want the Targa, then it's all-wheel drive only. Across all 911s, you'll also get slightly tweaked lights and bumpers on the outside, and inside you'll get the newest Porsche infotainment system that now is 12.3 or 12.6 inches, along with sadly the end of the analog gauges, which is unfortunate because the final holdout on the prior generation was the TAC. That has now gone digital as well. Also, a rear seat isn't standard anymore, but if you still want one, it's thankfully available as a no-cost option you can order. They also got rid of the twisting knob where the key used to go, and that's replaced now with a boring button, which we've seen in other Porsches, but I was hoping that maybe they'd hold out on that kind of stuff, for the 911 here, but it seems like they're just going to copy and paste everything across the lineup, which is a little unfortunate for Porsche. But anyway, the only other 911 we see for now is the base Carrera, which is rear-wheel drive only for now. It continues on with the old 3-liter engine, but does get the turbos and the intercoolers from the old GTS, but it only provides a 9 horsepower bump here for 388 horsepower total now. But it does drop the 0 to 60 time by 0.1 second, now in the 3-second club at 3.9 seconds. Those base ones will start at $122,095, including destination, which is about a $6,000 jump over the 2024 pricing. And the GTS gets an even bigger jump of about $14,000 now, with those starting now at $166,895, including that destination. And the regular Carreras will begin arriving this fall, with the GTS following around the end of the year. And the other 992.2 trims, I'm sure, will continue rolling out fairly quickly as well, but interesting to see that. And for some more big sports car news here, Automotive News is reporting that the production of the Supra and the Z4 will both end in 2026. When the Drive asked the Toyota representative about this, they only said, "We have nothing to share at this time." But Automotive News was able to get a little more out of Toyota Group Vice President David Christ, who said, "I think if we want to build something, we'll figure out how to build it." So before it ends, and they have to figure out what to do next, we are still expecting a GRMN version that's been spy testing on the Nürburgring and stuff, which will most likely get one of the M motors, like an S58 is the rumor. We'll have to wait and see what it ends up getting ultimately, but it's of course going to have different aero and, more aggressive setup. So that's still hopefully going to be in the cards here for a 1 or 2 model year run, depending on how soon that comes out. But supposedly, at least right now, it seems like BMW isn't interested in doing a new generation Z4 or any kind of other new partnership, it appears. And so as far as what they would do if they wanted to figure out how to build it, I have a leading theory. And my idea, again, I know nothing, but to me, the stuff that makes the most sense would be, we know that Mazda has patents for a bigger coupe. That has been already shown in great engineering detail and stuff. There's these very detailed patent drawings of a beautiful coupe that looks like a Grand Tourer and not the RX-7 revival thing. That's a whole separate thing. But so they have those plans. They also have a brand new single turbo inline-6 engine that's currently in the CX-90 and CX-70 that would be a real good basis for a new supermotor. It's a Japanese-built inline-6 single turbo engine. I mean, it's almost as if Mazda did this with the intention of turning it into a supermotor from the very beginning. And so that would be a great starting point. And I'm sure, again, Mazda would love some help with paying off this motor. And again, if I were to really go out on a limb, I'd say, we've all been wondering how Mazda has been able to afford to build this brand new engine, and how do they justify bringing a 6-cylinder into the automotive world whenever everyone else is downsizing. It seemed very counterintuitive and very nearly impossible. Other companies complain all the time, "Oh, we can't do this, that, and the other because we don't have the money." And then Mazda's somehow having the money to build a brand new 6-cylinder. Maybe Toyota's been having a hand in this all along, and maybe this has been the plan all along, and they're just playing their cards close to the chest very well. Again, that's a big leap of faith, but to me, it all kind of fits together, all the puzzle pieces, a little too perfectly for it to not be the case. We'll have to wait and see. But I mean, also it helps to know that Mazda, Toyota owns a 5.1% stake in Mazda. They're already partnered up with other facilities as far as production and all that kind of stuff. And so yes, for all those variety of reasons, I think we're going to see a new Mazda Grand Tour and the Supra get a version as well. Both Japanese inline six turbo powered vehicles. I think if they want to do it, again, like you said, if they want to do it, they'll find a way. They're Toyota, they're gigantic, they have the money. And I think this could be another great way to, again, share cost, help out Mazda, who I'm sure would be more than happy to open up, all this stuff if they wanted to in order to, help recoup some costs. So we will see. I think that'd be a really good, I don't know about you guys, let me know what you think in the comments below, but I think that'd be a really good way to go about this and, maybe answer some of the angry people that, were upset about the German roots of the current Supra. It would be all Japanese now for this new one and, could really be kind of the perfect solution in my mind. But who knows? I'll stop playing our armchair product planner over here. But moving on, speaking of Toyota and Mazda working together, which kind of adds fuel to my theory a little more, but just this week, those two companies jointly announced, along with Subaru, a plan for new biofuel engines that can run on hydrogen, bioethanol, or regular gasoline, and that they'll be optimized for the electrification era to help the world achieve carbon neutrality. So the goal is still carbon neutrality here. This isn't like they're ignoring any of that stuff. It's just that, again, they have a different approach than many others who just think we just need to have everything be battery electric. So these engines will be designed to be just backup power, though, for these stronger hybrids and plug-in hybrids that are coming. That'll still be driven primarily on hybrid, electric power. And this is something we've been hearing about. Toyota's been talking about having, these longer range plug-in hybrids that have, 120 odd miles of electric range, and the gas engine is merely there as a crutch for people that need the reassurance, or people who are going to be doing lots of long road trips. It makes a lot of sense. We're seeing also the same thing with the Ram charger, which I'll get back to that in a few minutes as well. But I think this is going to be the growing trend: is EVs and average battery packs are actually good enough for most people to do all their driving electrically, but you can use way less resources doing smaller batteries and just having a gas engine on board, just for kicks, for people that, need that or want that, or, a combination of the both. But, so I think that makes a lot of sense. But as far as this partnership goes, they say each company wants to win, but we can be faster if we work together, is what Toyota's CEO said. So they're not all going to share like one engine or anything. So Mazda's talked, it was a 3-hour presentation supposedly. Mazda talked about how they're still going to be refining their rotary engine for use in plug-in hybrids and electrified vehicles, which we're already seeing in the MX-30 that's available elsewhere in the world, with a rotary range extender. I think the goal for them is to continue to keep doing that, and that'll be the unique thing of Mazda having great packaging with the rotary and all that. If they can work out all that stuff, I think that'll really be great. And then Subaru also says they'll continue to invest in their signature Boxer engines as well, though it'll most likely be a smaller Boxer, it sounds like. But they're all, I think, going to win here because they're all going to get their unique engines. Toyota's probably going to do inline fours, but they'll all have their signature unique engine thing, all kind of working with this biofuel kind of thing going on as well, but all with the goal of, we have our unique little engines that set us apart from the other competitors, but, we still have the electric thing to give us, that long range and, mostly electric driving. But then whenever you need a backup generator, we have a few different varieties. I think that's, a cool approach. And they also said that their reasoning for why they're doing this, it's not just like, some people have falsely claimed, oh, well, they just don't care about, emissions or this, that, and the other, even though the way they're doing it, a lot of the, you just look at the math and it's going to be a lot less resource intensive to do it Toyota's way. But they say that they emphasize that there's diverse energy supply conditions around the world. Different customers need different things. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing with just giving everyone a battery electric vehicle. They also emphasize, they just want to meet those customers where they are right now. And also they said that there's about 5.5 million supply chain jobs in Japan that could be lost if they just nix all the gas engine stuff overnight. So obviously they don't want to do that for economic and social reasons. So, in a way they kind of have their hands tied, but also it doesn't have to be a compromise, because again, they will still be electrifying a lot of the stuff to a large degree and just have the gas engine there, again, to give people that comfort level or that support that they need that the battery is not going to be able to do. So I think these are really solid ideas, and hopefully it all works out for those companies. But I think, the winds of change right now seem to be definitely in Toyota's favor, and Mazda and Subaru as well. If, the plug-in hybrid thing is the way to go, I think that's going to be the dominating, tech that's going to take off a little faster than EVs for now, as a nice, gateway to the EVs for everyone. But anyway, moving on, getting back to the theme of performance bumps for 2025, the BMW M3 Competition X-Drive gets its own little boost for 2025 here. And just like the M4 that I just talked about not too long ago that gets the same changes, this is all the same here with a 20 horsepower bump for a total of 523 horsepower now, which splits the difference between the regular M3 and the CS version. Otherwise, the other versions remain unchanged from a mechanical standpoint. And as for styling, you'll see you get some new headlights and slightly tweaked bumpers. Inside, it gets that new curved display we've seen in some of the newest BMW stuff. It's running the new BMW operating system 8.5. And there's no updated pricing or release date for these, but they should be available pretty soon here. And going down the line to the regular 3 Series here, the M340i for 2025 gets a revised 48-volt system. Some outlets are reporting it gets a 48-volt system for the first time, but to my knowledge, it's had that ever since 2021. But I guess it's a new version here that they're adding in, and it gives you 4 more horsepower now and 29 more pound-feet of torque for totals of 386 horsepower and 398 pound-feet of torque now for that M340i. But surprisingly, the 0 to 60 time doesn't improve at all, which is strange. But the 2-liter 4-cylinder turbo, which also had 48-volt, I believe, already, is going to be having it added in here. It doesn't get any kind of power boost for this one, but the engine now runs on the Miller cycle for a slightly better efficiency. They also say that the steering is now lighter in the comfort mode, and there's new stiffer rear shock mounts for some reason. And so inside, in addition to that curved display, you also get a new 2-spoke steering wheel on the 330i and a flat bottom wheel on the M340i now. And on the outside, it just gets new wheel and color options, and they'll begin production in August, and pricing starts at $46,675, including destination for the 330i, and $60,775 for the M340i. Definitely continuing to raise those prices there, but you get a little bit more there, and just the way the car industry is going still. BMW also showed off the stylish new Skytop concept at the annual Ville d'Es, and so it's inspired by the Z8 and the 503, and is based on the M8 here for this version, just with a totally unique bodywork setup. But it runs the M8 Competition's version of the 4.4-liter twin-turbo V8 and gets the same interior as well, although it's now all covered in brown leather and looks a little more rich there. And while it's just a concept for now, it sounds like because it's based on the M8, it sounds like there's a pretty good chance this could make production, with a few outlets reporting that in interviews they've revealed that they could build it. It just comes down to how many people want this, and are they willing to pay the roughly probably $500,000 price tag it'll cost for an M8 with unique bodywork. I'm sure for collectors and stuff, especially if it's rare enough, they're talking about maybe making 50 of these or something. I'm sure, again, for just rolling art pieces that people collect, I'm sure they'll probably find enough buyers for that. But anyway, it looks beautiful though, nonetheless. It's a really nicely done vehicle, which is something we can't usually say about new BMW designs these days. So this kind of also gives me faith that BMW designers can make something that's less polarizing if they feel like it. And unfortunately, they just don't seem to feel like it anymore. But I'd love to see more along the lines of this in the future for other BMWs. But anyway, great to see that. And at the Wagoneer S reveal, Jeep CEO also gave some interesting tidbits about other future Jeeps and gave us a lot more info than I was expecting, to be completely honest. We got a really good idea of what's coming in the next few years here from Jeep. And so first, he said we'll be seeing the production version of the new Recon in a few months, so count on that before the end of the year. And also that another new model will be debuting in the beginning of the second half of 2025. And he basically said, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, I can't tell you what it is yet, but you can probably guess. So everyone's assuming that's going to be Cherokee, which makes sense. I'm surprised it hasn't come sooner, but yeah, I mean, that is good to hear, because it's been radio silence about Cherokee. I haven't seen any reports until just, this. So good to know what was going on there. Now we finally have an idea of when to expect a new one. They also revealed that a plug-in hybrid version of the Wagoneer and Grand Wagoneer will also be debuting next year. And during the Q&A session, they revealed that those Wagoneers will be getting the Ram charger setup with the big battery, and the Pentastar V6 as a range extender, which is great since that vehicle has gotten great reception so far. Seems like people are really excited about that idea. And so putting it in the Wagoneer will be great. Now, they did say that it's not going to be probably the same exact specs, so whether they need to cut in on battery size based on whatever unique needs the Wagoneer has and how they adapt that, whole setup for the Wagoneer. But, to most likely have the Pentastar V6 and have a healthy sized battery and, give you the best of both worlds there. And it's really great that they're deciding to, go for that. The other idea would have been just use the regular 4xe setup with the 2-liter turbo 4, but that's more of a gas heavy thing. This, Ram charger thing's more of an electric heavy thing, and I think that's, going to be the smarter way to do this, especially if they want to get their emissions down quicker. So I think that's great. And lastly, they showed off a Trailhawk version of the Wagoneer S in concept form. It does give you a good idea of what to expect if they do decide to make an off-road version, which seems fairly likely, that they're going to do that. It also introduces a new green exterior color and a new green interior color too. And so yeah, pretty cool. But during another event that Stellantis had going on around this same time this week, the CEO of Stellantis in general, not the Jeep CEO, but the person above them in charge of everything, teased another Jeep, saying, in the same way we brought the 20,000 euro Citroen EC3, you will have a $25,000 Jeep very soon. And he was talking about the US when he said this, even though I don't think he was in the US, but he added that if you ask me what is an affordable BEV, I would say 20,000 euros in Europe and 25,000 in the US. So our job is to bring the safe, clean, and affordable BEV to the US. $25,000 will do it. Now, everyone's been kind of thrown for a loop as far as that quote, because even the smallest little Jeep, the Jeep Avenger, which is like several inches shorter than even the Renegade, even that for the electric version, if you convert it to US dollars for what it sells for in Europe right now, which is, Jeep's first electric thing was the Avenger in Europe, even that would be like 41 grand, knocking $16,000 off of that. Even if you call it 10, if you want to say, conversion rates or something, it would be different. But I mean, there's even that, it's hard to imagine that even just bringing that over is going to be how they get there. But he says very soon. So again, unless Jeep's got a big surprise they've been hiding from everyone, that's some brilliant little thing. I don't know, especially for American buyers, like that's why they didn't bring the Avenger here, is because, the Jeep Avenger is just really small for American buyers. And so, I don't know how they're going to figure that out, but I mean, the CEO of Stellantis says it's very soon, and 25 grand. Okay, we will see who beats him to the punch first. I mean, Ford's working hard on a $25,000 EV. Tesla supposedly might be, who knows. But, also GM's working hard on a new Bolt that's going to be undercutting the Equinox EV, which already starts at 35, before tax credits. I mean, that's already 27.5 realistically, so getting something even cheaper than that. I mean, there's stuff coming, and I'm glad to see that these companies are really focusing hard and seem to be in a hurry now over the $25,000 EV that needed to happen a long time ago. I think, now they realize, okay, there's only so many people willing to spend $50,000 to $100,000 on an EV, and we need to make stuff that's affordable if we want to have that mass adoption that they're going for. And so good to hear that it sounds like everyone's full throttle into the affordable EV here. So that's great. Another company working hard to lower their costs is Rivian here. And a poster on the Rivian forums recently found part of the EPA application for the 2025 R1T and R1S. So back in 2022, Rivian committed to doing a lithium iron phosphate battery in their vehicles, and according to the new documents here, it'll happen for the 2025 model year, and it'll also be a smaller battery, going from the current 105.9 kilowatt pack to a 92.5 kilowatt hour pack, and that drops about 150 pounds in the process. But a lot of people were surprised to see that because, usually these LFP batteries are a little less power dense, so it's going to probably be a pretty big cut in range. We'll see, but Also, it's still going to be charging at a pretty solid 210 kilowatt peak charge rate, which is just 10 off the lithium ion pack. So I mean, pretty good charge rates, better than most of the industry out there still. But the one important thing to note is they will not be using the NACS port for the 2025 model year, at least not yet, according to this documentation. And it sounded to me, the understanding was always that NACS ports weren't arriving until the 2025 calendar year, meaning don't expect anything until, maybe a mid-cycle 2025 thing, or most likely 2026 model year vehicles for most of these things. And so, and I think there's also not a huge rush there because now with Tesla potentially slowing down supercharger rollouts, and the fact that, no matter what, everyone's going to need an adapter to do fast charging if you want to have the maximum capability, because you're going to have a ton of CCS legacy stuff still out there. So even if you have an ACS, you're going to need an NACS to CCS converter, adapter as well. So no matter what, like, adapters are going to be a way of life for the rest of the 2020s if you want to have the best chances at, reliable charging no matter where you are. But, it sounds like, at least for Rivian, they're not going to be putting that in here just yet. And moving on here, South Korean publication CISA Journal is claiming that Genesis and Lucid are close to a deal for Genesis to buy electric motors from Lucid. And that they're supposedly just ironing out details such as the pricing of the electric motors and the specific models they will be integrated into, which means there's a potential here for more models, because the main claim is that the reason why they're doing this is that they want to get the X convertible, and I'm assuming the other versions of the X that'll most likely come as well, they want to get those on sale by 2026. And supposedly they don't have enough time to develop the kind of electric motor they want for those vehicles. And that's why they're deciding that instead, an application of Lucid's high-performance electric motors is relatively efficient in terms of time and cost, according to the report, supposedly. So, I mean, sounds good. Lucid's also agreed last year to sell their motors to Aston Martin for some performance EVs. Maybe Genesis just wants that top amount of power. But if that's the case, then they're going for big power. Because, they already have the Ioniq 5N motors, 641 horsepower in those. Not sure why that's not good enough, especially even if this wants to be a Bentley competitor. I guess the new Continental GT is probably going to have a little bit more with that new plug-in hybrid twin-turbo V8 they have. But you would think 641 horsepower would be enough for these things. But maybe Genesis really wants to go bonkers with them. I don't know. That's the only reason why I could see this making sense. Otherwise, stay in-house. 641 horsepower is plenty. But I guess we will see. But anyway, interesting to hear that rumor, and take it with a grain of salt for now. But, it'd be cool if it turns out to be true. But for the last news story here this week, Bugatti has revealed their final Chiron that they built this month. They built the final one. They are done building them, and that ends the car's 500-unit run. And the last car was a special commission called Le Team, and it's a super sport inspired by the initial debut car, which is kind of cool, with using the same colors here, just with a faded effect this time, going from the Atlantic blue to the French racing blue. There's also number 500 markings on various parts of the car, so everyone knows what it is. And we have no info on where the car is headed, but it's been an awesome run here for the Chiron. It's been such an amazing car since its debut in 2016, where it's been the first production car to pass 300 miles per hour officially, doing 304.773 miles per hour, basically 305, which is wild. And it's going to be sad to see it go. It's an amazing car, but also we know there's something even more amazing on the horizon with them, teasing this new V16 powered, naturally aspirated vehicle. That's just going to be wild. And, that's going to be hybridized to give you the best of all the worlds. Great sounds, great performance, just all the good stuff there. And so anyway, but the end of Chiron is a big deal. Clearly I'm a fan, as you see the Lego one up there. And so I wanted to do a cheers here this week to the Chiron. And just for me, is one of those like ultimate dream cars, hypercars, not just, for posing and for, being fun, but truly to be a historic vehicle that, breaks those speed records and does it all. From everything I've seen, I've never driven one, unfortunately, but from everything I've seen, it's so comfortable, it's so polished and so refined, and the fact that it's so fast and yet it doesn't feel like a race car when you're driving around is truly a remarkable accomplishment. And sad to see the Chiron go, but it's been a very good run, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's next, which hopefully we'll see relatively soon. But cheers to the Chiron. And lastly, I want to thank all of you that are members of the Maran Motoring Club. So we did have a few new members that were able to join this past week. So huge thanks to FR8 Productions and Reviews and Michael Marr. Thank you both so much for all your support. I really appreciate that, and I hope you're enjoying the perks so far. Also, huge thanks to Jordan Yeager, Kyle, and the Truck and Car Guy for all gifting memberships during the last live stream, which enabled a few more others to join and become members for the first time. So big welcome here to Dan the Man, Jesse Vargas, and Herb. So big welcome to all three of you as well. And so yeah, I hope you're all enjoying the membership perks so far. Looking forward to interacting with those of you who want to join on the live stream here on Sunday, and also be sure to join the Discord server if you're into that, where we all are able to chat in there and have a good time as well. But anyway, for anyone else that'd like to join, become a member, there's always join buttons here on the video page, on the channel page, and also a link in the description. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Please leave a like and subscribe to keep these videos coming, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.